Bing bong, bing bong.
Seen that whole movie
You've never seen Inside Out all the way through?
because like everybody's like, "Oh, Bing Bong's death is super sad," and I'm like, "I think I ever
Who
seen
who
him
are you
die."
talking about?
Yeah,
Mm,
I actually had to look up the scene to find
mm,
out it was an elephant man.
yeah, it's a good concept for a movie. We experienced our second earthquake of the week, just barely. Um, it's movie time.
It is
It's movie time in America, in Cedar City, from an undisclosed location where we're filming this episode.
Montana.
What? Um, well, it's December. It's time for some year-end lists.
Christmas.
Christmas. Well, not quite, but we got the tree up. We're in the spirit. We're wearing our comfy sweats. We drank some hot cocoa earlier.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not even a hot chocolate guy.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah,
That's sad.
because like not a lot of people know how to make it good.
Mm.
It was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. Well, we are here to count down our year-end movies list. I've got 10. You got 10?
I got 10.
10 movies. We're going to talk about our favorites from this year. I feel like it's important to disclose that, like, while we review a lot of movies, and like obviously that's kind of why we're here recording this, um I didn't watch every movie that came out this year, regardless of whether or not it was like a big release or everyone was hyped about it. Like there was a couple, like Barbie, I didn't really have all that much desire to see, but we were like, all right, let's go check it out. You know what I mean? But definitely not every movie is being incorporated into my survey size here because I just didn't see them all.
I literally looked up to see which movies came out this year. I
Yeah.
didn't know that over 400 movies came out this year, which
For
is
sure.
which is nuts because of like the whole writer strike thing.
Yeah.
And there's still over 400. Anyways,
Yeah.
so just the ones that we decided we wanted to.
For sure. So like for example, Killers of the Flower Moon is a very highly rated movie. I think we both want to see that one. It hasn't really been in the theaters too much near us. And so like I'm assuming based on reception that it's had and what I like in movies, if we were to go back and remake this list in like 6 months after I've gotten the chance to see it, it might crack into this list.
Right.
There's a ton of movies coming out at like Christmas time that we're not going to include here.
Right.
Ferrari, Aquaman, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Well, sorry, it's Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Charlie's not in this one.
Nope.
But anyways, that being said, this is just kind of year end movies we enjoyed a lot in what we've seen this year. So it's more of a, instead of like best movies of the year, maybe it's more of like
our top 10.
Yeah, like the movies we enjoyed the most this year, perhaps. So how do you want to do this, man? Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
You can go first this time.
All right. I feel like you go first a lot, so it's my turn for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's start things off strong here. I feel like this will probably be a little controversial pick just because there's a lot of movies that I didn't include that I did see this year. But it's a movie I enjoyed a lot. I definitely don't think it's up to the quality of some of these others though, and it's Blue Beetle.
Okay.
DC's kind of reinstalled, like, you know, they're kind of in this weird spot right now of trying to revamp their universe a little bit. But it was super cool to just kind of meet a superhero that was fighting some, you know, personal threats, like not so much galactic universal stuff going on. So anyways, I enjoyed that little bit smaller scale superhero movie for this year. And I'm going to jump next into my ninth, which is another DC movie. It's The Flash. And while this film struggled, let's say struggled instead of whatever word I was just trying to say, on a lot of fronts, I do really enjoy the plot line. I think that the concept of the plot's really cool. It's really awesome, just regardless of quality, to see that character in that storyline brought to the big screen. Despite everything going on with Ezra Miller, I think his performance in the film was pretty solid, as well as Michael Keaton's and Sasha Calle. So there's a lot of aspects of it that I really enjoy, but definitely some things that are going to keep it at the bottom of my list.
Absolutely.
And above that one, I'll go with Guardians of the Galaxy in eighth place, third installment in that franchise. A very good emotional journey. I found myself really connecting with the characters a lot, which is pretty cool because I've always enjoyed the Guardians films, but like
Absolutely.
have never really said they're like my favorite Marvel characters or films. So it was really awesome to like kind of have that connection and feel, more uh interested
Yeah.
in the character development in that movie, which was
Right.
awesome. Seventh, switching lanes a little bit from superheroes to not really all that different of a genre, though, with The Creator, John David
Yeah.
Washington. I thought this film was really well executed. Definitely not quite what I expected it to be,
Yeah.
just based on the trailers. But like in a welcome way. Like it was kind of cool to see something different than what I was just expecting to happen.
Right.
So that one was super awesome. And then we're really getting into some of my favorites here towards the top with number 6 being Gran Turismo.
Wow.
Pretty high up there, but not quite a top 5 film for me. I
Yeah.
really love the cinematography of this one. It was a super interesting plot to make a biopic about for Jan Mardenborough and the whole Nissan team and kind of this whole concept of sim racing to real racing. Got me really interested in racing. I've been diving into Formula One like crazy now, and so super cool film. I really enjoyed that one. The emotional acting from some of these characters was super cool to see. Like I feel like I've been missing that from a lot of movies, and to see that come out a little bit more this year in some of those maybe not big budget films like Oppenheimer or Barbie, but in a movie like this or in Blue Beetle was pretty cool to see. So I'll jump up to 5th now with Creed 3, Michael B. Jordan. I thought it was a solid directorial debut for him, a good addition to the franchise. Definitely had its own flavor on it, which was really nice to not feel like I was just watching a third iteration of the same thing, but like went its own lane, more character development, gave us a new unique storyline, introduced us to some new characters. Definitely some things that held it back from being like my favorite movie. I think there was some writing choices that I maybe would have gone a different direction with. Obviously, the inclusion of Sylvester Stallone's character Rocky would have been very cool to see, but just couldn't happen in this film. So, but anyways, a film that I really enjoyed a lot. Definitely not as good as the first couple Creeds, but nonetheless a great watch for this year. And then we'll go up to 4th, a film that we were very hyped about. You included on a list earlier this year. I hadn't seen it yet, so didn't include it, but it's Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer film. We actually just finished up watching it for the second time for you. Definitely a little different than what I was expecting going into the film. Based on the promotion and based on the hype that it received immediately when it came out, I had a little bit bigger expectations for it. And I wouldn't say I was let down by the film at all, but definitely wished some things would have been discussed more, looked into more, depicted more, and some aspects that like I didn't really care for all that much that were included. But some great acting, like all-star cast. You couldn't handpick a better cast for a movie if you tried. Nolan's of course a great director and writer. We know that. We know he's going to do great stuff with that. Great practical effects, all that kind of stuff. For sure a staple as like one of the biggest movies of the year, and a really well-made movie, 100%. But I think it got a little overhyped. I think it's not quite like the top echelon of what I know Nolan can make in movies. So anyways, it sits at 4. Number 3, I would say this is maybe like the biggest surprise for me of the year, and it was Air with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Such a good film. I really loved getting to know a character that's not just like a character you would expect to make a biopic about. It wasn't a Phil Knight biopic, it wasn't a Michael Jordan biopic, but it was really about Sonny, Matt Damon's character, who really revitalized the Nike basketball industry, which is like the biggest basketball industry there is right now. So super cool, super good storytelling in that film. Acting was great. I will say the reason it's fallen a little bit as the year's gone on for me is I don't really love the depiction of Michael Jordan in the film, in that there's very little of him shown despite so many big scenes that he should be in.
Yeah.
And I understand why they don't want to detract from what they're telling, but I feel like the way they depicted him was more distracting than if they were to just show him in a smaller capacity. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, a great biopic, one of the biggest surprises, especially being like an Amazon original, not like a big, film studio movie, but just something they felt so confident about that they sent it to theaters anyway and ended up doing super well. So I really enjoyed that one a lot. Second, Mission Impossible 7. Super, super good. I really found myself enjoying this film. Mission Impossible is an interesting franchise for me because there's so many that I think are classics.
Yeah.
And there's so many iconic scenes, but I don't really know that they've told brilliant stories in every movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of those times where I was like, wow, this story is very good.
Interesting.
And the action is equally as interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is an absolute madman. He's just driving motorcycles off cliffs on the first day of filming so that they know if they can do it or not. An absolute crazy guy out there doing crazy stunts, but I love the film and really just loved that the storytelling of this film was matched by the action, where I feel like in the past it's just been a lot of action without a very intriguing storyline.
Right. I'm surprised that one's not your number one. I thought that one was going to be your number one.
Yeah, it's a very good film. But number one for me, it may be a cop out. We've said it all year long. It's just I'll say it first. It's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the second installment in this franchise. It's so crazy to me how long it's been since I saw a great animated film, and instead of just being like, wow, this is a good animated film, or this was a great Pixar or Disney or whoever put it out at that time, just like walking out of there and this being like, this was a phenomenal movie. Like no, asterisk put next to it, like, oh, it's good for a kids movie, or it's good for a cartoon, or it's good for an animated feature. Like just walking out of there and being like, this was a fantastic film. And the character development was phenomenal. The introduction of a lot of new characters was super cool. So anyways, I really found myself loving this movie as the year went on, and just coming back to like movie moments that it had a lot throughout the year. So yeah, that's my list.
It's a pretty good list.
Yeah. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, number one. Great film. And that's what I have to say about this year so far.
That's bad. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I will shout out a couple. I'm deciding. TMNT, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, was a close one for me because it was again kind of like a really fun animated feature to watch. I ended up not putting it in because I felt like acting performances from films like Blue Beetle and The Flash were better. But again, like I said, just a really fun movie to watch. It was really enjoyable. I loved seeing some justice for the storytelling of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when I feel like a lot of times they've just kind of been like this, cast aside comic book franchise. And then I'll also say Insidious chapter. Well, I keep saying chapter 3. I think it's the 5th Insidious, but it's really the third part of the first two movies. Story. Right. And I like this. Definitely the reason it didn't make my list is it's not that great of a movie in terms of how well made it was. But just in being a fan of the franchise, it was super cool to see it come full circle like that, to see the original cast brought back together and develop in a real meaningful way. Was really enjoyable. I genuinely, it was the first time in a while that a horror movie gave me nightmares, and not in that like I was like so traumatized by it, like, but I just was sleeping and had the dream of the MRI scene, and I was like, I woke up and I was like, whoo, that was a little creepy. So, anyways, enjoyed that one a lot. Super fun to see that franchise come full circle. So those are mine.
That's pretty good. Both of those are in my top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I'll start with my honorable mentions. One being Blue Beetle. Solid film. There were definitely some scenes where I was just like, all right, what are we doing here? Like George Lopez just automatically knowing how to fly the beetle around. Like
For sure.
I'll give him credit. He did great. He was a great comic relief for the movie.
Right.
The grandma just having being the reason to somebody's Vietnam flashbacks is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was fun. Just I did enjoy it a lot, just not for a top 10.
Fair enough.
The other one would be Transformers. I think it's Rise of the Beast or something like that.
Mhm.
It was just super fun. Like I don't remember the last time I've seen a Transformers movie.
Sure.
Saw this was coming out. I was like, you know what?
I'll give it a watch.
Let's try it out. And now it's connected to like G.I. Joe and like
Right.
all of this stuff. Pete Davidson is a Transformer, which he surprised me. Like shout out to him. He did phenomenal.
Yeah.
But so those ones were fun. Just they were better in my opinion. So at number 10, we have The Flash, which for me was hard to put in this list because I was one of those people that just hated on it a lot.
Yeah.
But then like thinking about it more and more, like the plot and like just the idea with where they were going was really good. Especially like him being the villain like in the end, like he's the reason that like everything's going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then just emotional connection between like him and his mom, and like this is my last time getting to see my mom, and like, I'm still trying to help my dad out of jail and all of this stuff, along with great performances from Michael Keaton and Supergirl.
Sasha Calle.
Yep, that's her. But yeah, so that has to stay at number 10. At number 9 is where I have TMNT.
Okay.
It was just really fun. I loved the new take on the Ninja Turtles from what we've had in the past. Not so great. I think it was cool that they took teenagers very seriously in this one. Like they're being super cringy, like talking about how Drake's the GOAT, and we all know that's not the case. So, just
we'll have that debate on another episode.
Saying things that just aren't true.
I think that will help this movie age well, despite the fact that it'll age poorly. Like in that kind of ironic sense.
Right.
Like everyone looks back to when they were a teenager and it's just like, oh, what the heck? Like that was so cringy. And that's what people are going to look back on those jokes and be like. So in a very ironic sense, I think that ages well. It
was just such a fun movie. I felt like I had to include it somewhere into this list
for sure.
At number 8, I put Guardians 3. Usually, probably in the past, I'd probably put Marvel movies way higher.
Sure.
And I mean, I've loved the Guardians since the first one. I love that we finally got a Rocket background story, kind of see like where he came from, how he actually was created. It was great. Like I don't really have a problem with the movie, just there's better movies this year. So loved it though. Number 7 we have where I put Creed 3. I just felt like there were a lot of great movies this year. So I feel like it's not that they're low, there's just that there's things a lot of great movies
for sure
year.
For sure.
It's unfortunate with all of the events happening with Jonathan Majors, and I don't know what's going on or whatever. But within this movie, he did a great performance. The first time that I've seen him in a role, Michael B. Jordan did great with his first directing. He killed it even in the movie himself. It was cool. I liked that he implemented anime scenes just because that's something that he really likes. So you can see kind of that style if you do watch any anime or see clips or whatever.
For sure.
But you definitely see that, and I like that it ended up making the actual movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Next we have The Creator. Solid movie. I'm glad that it wasn't iRobot Part 2 / AI. It was slow at points, and I don't even think it was slow at points. I think it was slow at one point, and I'm being dramatic. But
no, it's fair. That's fair for sure.
It's cool, like the infiltration, like the double agent like beginning and
yeah,
nobody really knowing like what's going on, and then you try to find out, okay, like why are we trying to destroy AI, like what's the real reason here, and it's this entire journey trying to find out that, just to find out that, oh, it's actually the humans that are bad,
yeah,
we got to save AI. I don't like that actually.
yeah.
But
that was my big gripe when we reviewed it too. So
yeah, the more I think about it, it's kind of scary. Stop
Yeah.
trying to tell me to save AI. I'm still
Yeah.
not for it. Still nonetheless, great movie.
Right.
What are we in? 2, 4. We're on my top 5. At number 5 is where I put Insidious.
Okay.
I love
Wow.
that mainly because the first Insidious movie was the first scary movie I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And so I already had like, I mean, traumatizing experience from this movie. I couldn't sleep for like a week and a half.
Yeah.
But I thought the story was great. There are a couple cheesy moments.
Sure.
But I feel like nowadays a lot of horror movies have cheesy moments.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even just say nowadays. Like horror movies are kind of known for that.
Right. So to not have that, that's where I probably would have been surprised.
Right.
And then minus like the third and the fourth Insidious movie, like they were cool, but I was invested in, the actual story, these characters. They finally come back and they put an end to it. They like solve it. It's done.
Yep.
So it was just a nice wrap up of the story. Whether they make more and do kind of like what they did with 3 and 4, who knows? But that family is wrapped up, and I liked how it ended. At number 4, I agree with you. This is where I have Oppenheimer.
Okay.
Earlier when I had just first seen it, it was a top 3 for me, but it's just not a movie I'm gonna come back to. Like the only reason I even watched it a second time is because I haven't watched it. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, like I don't care. Like I'm not gonna I'm not gonna watch it again.
Yeah, like it's not that bad.
Right. But it's just like
yeah. And you watch the best half too. Like the second half is the best half.
The first half is like just so slow. It's not very interesting. Like I mean,
it's not very you for sure.
Absolutely not. Like I can appreciate it. Christopher Nolan did a solid job. Like, what's his name? Cillian Murphy. Is that how you pronounce it? Killed his role.
Yeah.
Like I was fully invested in his character. People like Matt Damon and Robert Downey Jr. did amazing. What's her name? Emily Blunt. Solid job.
Right.
I know I'm missing a couple people, but
yeah,
like you were saying,
they have the Avengers of actors in that movie. Like just everybody.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great depiction of Oppenheimer himself and the atomic bomb. It was cool to see, but it's like a one time I'm good. I don't need to see that film
for sure.
Like it's cool
for sure. Maybe we'll have to like review that one a little more in depth in a later episode
that
for sure.
Seen it,
but yeah.
Number 3, once again, I also agree. I have Air.
Okay.
Now this is a biopic that I can get behind. This is one that I don't mind sitting down in like. I don't know, even a couple of months to a year, be like, hey, I haven't seen this in a minute.
Yeah.
Let's watch it again.
For sure.
And kind of like you were saying, I love that it's not Michael Jordan. I love that it's not Nike. I love that it's not what's his face? It's Phil Knight.
Yeah.
It's this random dude named Sonny.
Yeah.
Like sitting at a desk, just finding out what's really going on. Like, how can we make this company succeed? Because right now we suck. Like, we're the bottom of the competition when it comes to basketball.
Yeah.
Like, how can we just get our numbers better?
Right.
And he knows that the only way, obviously, is Michael Jordan.
Sure.
And where you kind of said, like, it would have been better just to kind of implement Jordan a little bit more. Yeah. I didn't really care that much about that. I liked that they stayed away as far away from Jordan as possible.
Okay.
I like that they brought the parents in it more. Rather than
for sure.
Michael. Because what was he, 17, 18?
Yeah, the parents he's early college. Yeah.
Like, so to really bring in the parents, because it's contract material, and seeing like the mom knowing Jordan's worth, like, no, you're like, this is the deal, or you're not getting my son. And like change the history basketball of how, forever. Like,
just of how endorsement deals are done.
Exactly. So to see that kind of unfold, and I mean, it works for these athletes. It's even gotten to the point where, college athletes are getting endorsement deals now. So like it's a good edge for the younger sports, like that college level sports. I like that it's gotten to that point.
For sure.
But I loved the film. And like you were saying that it came off of Amazon first is amazing.
Definitely.
At number 2, I have, mind you, I haven't seen some of these films like Mission Impossible.
Sure. Yeah.
Can't add it, but Gran Turismo.
Wow.
Number 2, love that film.
Super cool.
I explained it when we reviewed it, but I had the same feeling watching Gran Turismo as I did when you first introduced me to the first Creed movie.
Oh, wow.
It's like, why can't I do it? Like, I can do it, and I am going to do it. I just got to keep going. That kind of feeling.
Yeah.
The acting was amazing. I'm never going to remember any of these actors' name, but whoever played Hopper, he killed it. He's become slowly one of my favorite actors
for sure
recently, especially because I just started watching Stranger Things again, restarting it. Anyway,
nice.
It's a great concept because it's real. Like, that actually happened. They turned a video game into like an actual thing. Race competition, whatever you want to call it. Like, and it worked. I don't
he's still a racer. Like, it's not like it just happened and it was a fluke. Like, it still happens.
That's so mind-blowing to me, because you can't do that with any other video game. I mean, no, you can't. You literally can't. Barely even do it with this. Anyways, great film. I loved the story, the dedication. You could see like all the work ethic. I loved it all around, and it was amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
If my number 1, Spider-Man. If Spider-Man didn't come out this year, that'd probably be my number 1.
Wow, super cool. Super cool.
But obviously, Across the Spider-Verse is the best. I'm not even gonna say it's a cop-out. If you're the best, you're the best. It is what it is. It changed the game for animated films. I mean, look at TMNT. It already like started catching fire with these other studios. A lot of animation studios are going to try to copy it, but somehow make it their own. It just is what it is. It had one of the greatest stories of the year, some of the best character development, as you said. And it just makes you love these characters more and more and more.
And want like when's the third part coming out? Like, everybody's just,
I haven't felt so when they ended it off the cliffhanger where he's right in front of himself as Prowler. And then it cuts and it's like, roll the credits. And everybody's like, what? No, what do you mean? And like, I started feeling that way, and I immediately calmed down. And I just looked at the screen and I was like, this is the exact feeling I got for Infinity War. Like, this is actually exactly what I wanted. So I was like no longer mad, but I was excited. I was like, a movie did it again. Like, I was able to feel the same way as I did before, which I appreciate that a lot. But like, it was, you can't do it. You can't beat it. It is what it is.
100%. Well, I think we've got a couple of super solid lists here, and obviously we don't want to drag this episode out too long, but I'll put us both on the spot here with 2 quick questions. First, we mentioned a lot, like, we haven't seen a bunch of movies. There's still movies that are coming out. What is a movie that you either haven't seen or hasn't come out yet this year that you're looking forward to the most? And you can name a couple if you have a couple.
I would have to say Aquaman for sure, just because I think the first one did so well. I'm excited to see how the second one turns out. I was excited for Hunger Games, but after talking with you, not so much.
I probably shouldn't have undersold it so much. It's not a bad film. It's not a bad film. It's a good watch.
I don't know. People have I've heard 2 opinions. Yours being, and then my other friend saying greatest movie I've ever seen in my life.
It's not that. It's definitely not that.
A really big spectrum I have to base this on.
Sure.
There was a movie that I wanted to see, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, couple great options though, for sure.
Yeah.
For myself, I'd probably say I'm really looking forward to seeing Killers of the Flower Moon, which I think is coming out on streaming pretty soon.
Oh, cool.
I think DiCaprio's a great actor, and it's just such an interesting concept for a story that I feel like needs to be told more based on like what the film's about. And so, anyways, really looking forward to seeing that one. I'd also say Napoleon. With Joaquin Phoenix looks really interesting. I know it's gotten a lot of flack for historical inaccuracies. Nonetheless, I think it looks like a great epic. And my last one that I have just recently started seeing more for is the Ferrari movie about Enzo Ferrari, and Adam Driver's in it. Looks really interesting, just a really interesting concept. Again, I guess we can credit Gran Turismo for getting me into racing and getting me into Formula One, and then like, oh, Ferrari's coming out. Oh, this would be pretty cool. All right, so second question here. We don't have enough of these to do like a list or anything, so I'll just ask you. We've talked about 3 TV shows on that have come out this year on our podcast, being Secret Invasion, Ahsoka, and Loki. Of those 3, or let's just call a spade a spade. Of those 2, Loki or Ahsoka, which was your favorite TV show that you saw this year?
You didn't like Secret Invasion? That's tough because I'm already super invested in Marvel, and I thought the first season of Loki was phenomenal. So it's hard because you're basing off season 1 to a season 2.
Sure.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because Ahsoka was a great step for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Especially for TV shows. For me, the TV shows have been super boring and I don't want to watch.
For sure.
Ahsoka, I got excited for each new episode. It's somebody I don't even know the origins of, and I'm that invested. So the fact that you can get at least me invested in something like that is a high praise. But like we talked before, I was super interested in this storyline of Loki. I loved the character development, how like it all kind of wrapped up. Honestly, though, I'd probably take Ahsoka.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. That was like such a 180, I feel like. Like you were just talking up Loki, like you were like, Ahsoka's really good, but Loki, and so it's Ahsoka.
I don't know. It just feels right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It feels good.
Fair enough. My answer is probably the same. I think Loki's a great TV show for sure. I would say it's definitely up there as some of the best Marvel TV that they've put out, as we talked about very recently. But just the storyline, the characters in Ahsoka were much more interesting for me to get to know.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of just made it edge out Loki for what I would say my favorite of the year was. Plus just like I love when franchises that are very well established are able to incorporate new aspects that makes them really cool or interesting. And like some of the choreography and the fighting of Ahsoka was like, whoa, this is super cool. And you've been doing Star Wars for like what, since the 70s, you know what I mean? Like just half a century. So it was super cool to see some of that kind of stuff. And that's what gave me a lot, like I would say, makes me think it's the better show for me.
And I mean, you can only see so many different Lokis.
Yeah.
There's only one Ahsoka
for sure.
Plus, it brought out Darth Vader. That's one of the best scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah, that might be one of the best TV scenes that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch us on YouTube, drop a comment. I guess just wherever you listen to us, you can drop comments. Drop us a comment of what your favorites of the year were. Let us know what movies we missed, what we need to see.
And I'll let you know right now, we didn't miss Barbie. We left it out on purpose.
It was well near the bottom of my list for a reason. And because I'm a very small-brained individual, I'm just going to pull up this here real quick and remind myself that next year we've got top 10 albums of the year.
That'll be fun.
Super exciting. I'm really stoked for.
I'm really hoping we have some actual
some differences.
A lot of differences.
I feel like we will.
Yeah.
I feel like we will.
I think at least our number one I know is going to be very different.
Okay.
Yeah, I know for a fact.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think you'll be surprised with where I put a couple of them that we've both talked about.
I have to really sit down and think about that one.
Yeah. But I'm super stoked for our December episode lineup. Got a very exciting awards episode that we're working on. That'll come out at the end of the year. So more will be on that shortly. And movies are great.
Yeah.
Cheers to movies.
We love movies.
Yeah. Cheers.
The stupidest thing I've done.